Well, good afternoon. It is now noon on the West Coast, and I'd like to welcome all of you to the last quarter, the last month of the second quarter. It's crazy, craziness. Turn off all the beeping. So, what are we going to talk about this month? I want to go over what I'm going to be talking about. It's really this today is about freedom and abundance. So, what does that have to do with workflows and what I do? It has a lot. And then on to next week is going to be on um, boundaries and expectations and what to expect and how to set them for the summer. And then finally, it is going to be, I have to look. Now I can't remember. It is on June. Oh, those are the articles. Lives. Well, my favorite topic. The 8 CEOs in your business. So for those who missed it, the first time around, you guys get to hear it again. It is a riveting topic. So anyway, so let's talk about freedom and abundance. So why is that? What does that have to do with business? Well, creating your workflows and your process and procedures help you create that abundance and freedom in your life. You're like, why? How? Well, let me show you in this lovely diagram, and I'll put this out on the comments below when we're done on doing this. So, creating the workflow. We talked about this 2 weeks ago. What's your workflow? What's that daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, yearly flow that you go through? And it can be as little as much as you want. But creating that workflow will then turn into what systems do you need to make those workflows run well? Whether that's creating a calendar and having a calendar link on your website on how to work with you, sending them a link on here's how to set up a time to meet with me. Creating an email that is already set. You already have your email list. You don't have to do anything. All you have to do is write the article and you're done. What is the your CRM? What does that look like? How do you follow up with potential clients, and how do you keep in touch with current clients? How do you go out there and network? That is a system. How do you follow up with them and create more abundance with more people coming to you? See how I did that? And then you move into process and procedures. And this is where we have not gotten into a lot of it. So I'm going to spend a lot of my time here. So why is a process and procedure important? Why is an SOP important? SOP, standard operating procedures. So creating your process and procedures is really on taking your workflow and your systems and tying it together, putting words to it. How do you do business? So if you are walking into train a new employee or train a contractor on how you do your business, this is a way to do that. This is a way to say, hey, this is how I do business. Whether it's, and people do it different ways. People can do it with a book. I don't have my process and procedures book around for tailored events. I actually did get rid of it. And I don't have Jen Taylor up here either. It's downstairs being worked on. But what does that look like? What does that look like for you? And what's in there is, and we'll dig into deeper into that later. But you want to put down the contacts. What's your branding look like? What's all your codes for your colors, the font names, how you do your fonts, where, the logos, where can they find the logos, things like that. Then it gets into how do you do your emails? How emails as in your email list, not necessarily your emails. But it could include in that brand thing, it could include what your tag at the end of your emails. What's that look like? Do you have your picture on it? Do you change it up? Do you have the latest your irresistible free offer on there? What are those things that you have on your footer for your emails? Then it goes into how do you get clients? So how does the onboarding process look like from the very beginning? How does that work? Where does that go? How does that flow into what you do? And it's just taking, I do, this is somebody calls, somebody emails, somebody goes from their website. The website and email should be the same. The call should then be transferred over at some point into your CRM system. So that needs to be listed out on how that happens. Then, once they hire you, how does that look like? What do you do? How do you do it? And that's, again, those are things that you can say, here, new employee, or here, new contractor, or here, new VA. This is how I do my business. And this is how it works. So then onboarding, they've hired you, you're working with them. How does the offboarding process look like? Again, you write that out because you need to get these things out of your head and onto a piece of paper. A Word, not necessarily, well, it could be on. I start most of my process and procedures, I do start on a piece of paper. And then it starts off as a workflow. Then I type it up. It becomes a process. So you can then take all of those things and do a Loom or do a Zoom video and save it. So if somebody comes in, they may not be a reader. They may not be somebody that goes through everything like that way. They may need something that is more visual. So it's more of, here's a video on how I do my onboarding process, how I bring somebody on into my business, how do I offboard them. Here's where you can find those emails, on and on and on. Your SOPs could be all video based. It's not, it is the best way. It's one of the best ways to do it because then it's easier to go through. I don't know if it's easier. It's the same if you go through it in a document versus on Loom or Zoom or whatever video you use. It's that way to go through that. You still have to redo it if you change your processes. And you need to. It's a living document. So keep that in mind. And that's why I tell you, look at it on a quarterly basis. Definitely look at it at a yearly basis. See what needs to change or what needs to be added or taken out and improved on. And that's the best part. So you're doing that. You're doing your, how do you take payments? What's your calendar look like? What social media looks like? How do you do social media? If you pass social media on to somebody else, you need to tell them, here's where you can find all the graphics. Here's where I look for my quotes for the week. This is where I look for articles. This is where I look for, what I want to say as a business. This is my personal parts that I want to talk about. So where's that content calendar? And then within that content calendar, where can they find all the stuff? I have a document that has all of that. You can throw that in there. It's really up to you on how you want to run that part of it. Or if you give it to somebody else and you let them run with it, then you put that in there. Currently, I use so-and-so to run my social media. And this is what they do. These are the platforms they're on. And then think about what you want to do for Pinterest or LinkedIn, whatever the ones you're not doing. Is there a plan at some point to go there? And if there is, what's that look like? And again, it's up to you on how much detail, like your username and password, or do they just get a LastPass sign on and they can get to all of your things without getting your login and passwords? So those are, how do they sign documents? Do you do everything through Jasabo, HoneyBook, 17 Hats, things like that? You are going through all that. What's the contact form? Where is everything located, and how do they get to it? I talk about accounting. I talk about every bit of piece of my business within my SOP, because at any point down the road, something could happen to me, and someone will need to take over what I'm doing. If I'm in the hospital, or if I've passed away, things like that. Those things are helpful. Here's my passwords. Here's what I do. Here's how I get into my systems. Here's who you need to call in case of emergency. And those could be your bookkeeper, your attorney, your lawyer, your tax person, your social media person. All of those things need to be listed out. These are the things that, these are the important people, and they know what to do. And you have that trusted person that knows your business. So it's not fun, and this is the reason why people don't want to do it. It's not fun, and it makes you you're like, I don't know what I do in my business. Well, if you do this, you do know what's going on in your business. I'm not talking about numbers. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the back end operations of your business, because those things are important, just as important as your bookkeeper. Because if you don't have that, you don't have freedom and abundance in your business. You are running around like a chicken with your head cut off. So once you get into process and procedures, you can then look at that next step. That next bubble is automation. So what can you automate? Definitely, as I've said many times, your calendar should be the first thing that you automate. Calendly, TimeTrade, go through HoneyBook. I think DeSabo now has, or they're still beta testing the calendar, things like that. I just had an appointment call. Somebody wanted to meet with me. I'm like, great, here's a link to my calendar, and here's how you pay. I got paid, and I have an appointment later on today. So I didn't have to do, I maybe did 5 minutes of work, if that. Create the invoice. I sent it off through PayPal because I'm still working on a few tweaks in my HoneyBook account. Like, how can I do this through HoneyBook? How can I make it more streamlined for me? At that point, I'm not there, but I'm like, okay, I got PayPal. Send off a PayPal thing. I get it back. They set an appointment. I said, great, I'll be there. And then we're done. So that's making it, as much as I can automate it, that's as much as I can automate that part of it. But what other parts can you automate that happen? Those canned emails, whether you're using DeSabo, 17 Hats, HoneyBook, all of those things all have canned emails. So go through and say, okay, and it doesn't have to be like, just because it's a canned email doesn't mean it's a robotic email. You can still be your normal self in that email. You're just putting it in a workflow that you don't have to type up that email every single time. And if you're not in DeSabo or 17 Hats or HoneyBook or anything like that, make a folder and email saying canned emails. That's a step above rewriting that email every single time. You just copy and paste it from the canned email section, put the person you're sending it to, put a header on it. If it's the same header you always use that, put everything in there and send it. You're not thinking about it. You're thinking about how you can make your life easier and how you can have more freedom. And abundance doesn't have to be money. Abundance can be time. Abundance can be more time with your family, more time for yourself, more time doing what you want to do, being abundant in your business, being abundant with your creative time. So that's the end of all and be all is it's not all about the Benjamins. It's all about the balance and the freedom between those two. So the next bubble is outsourcing. So you may have already have an outsource. Like I talk about a team. And so who's on your team? It doesn't need to be who's working for you. Your team could be your VA. It could be your bookkeeper, your tax person, your copywriter, your social media team. Like when I sat down and listed out, I was talking to somebody. I'm like, she's like, well, who's on your team? And I'm like, oh, I just have this. I don't even. And then I'm listing it out. I'm like, crap. I got a pretty big team for just being me. So that's, what can you outsource becomes who's on your team? Where can you delegate things that you don't want to do? As I said, the first thing I delegated, because I hate doing the books, is I hired a bookkeeper. And I loved it. I didn't have to touch it. I didn't have to think about it. I didn't have to do anything. And then the next person I brought on was after my husband died, I brought on a tax person. I'm like, I am not doing taxes. So you can tell I don't like working with money. And so total mind block, total things I need to work on. But I'm like, oh, I don't have to do taxes. I don't have to do that. I can just say, here's all the documents. Give me my tax forms. I'll send them off. Do whatever. Pay you money. Goodbye. Ask me, if you have any questions, let me know. I have a copywriter. I have a social media team company. I have an attorney. She's there. She's on my team. Things that I don't have to think about. When, the Small Business Association calls and says, we need this. I'm like, what's that? I'm able to send it over to her and say, hey, what's this? And can you do this for me? And she's like, yeah. Do you have this and this and this? I'm like, I started my business so long ago. I have no clue. And I'm in Hawaii right now. So help me. So those are things that you can outsource. Things that you don't want to do. Things you don't want to think about. Things that cost you time and money because you are spending too much of your precious time that you could be making money doing something else. Doing what you are good at instead of trying to beat your head against the wall of doing your books or becoming an attorney on the side. Finding, whatever. Finding those boilerplate contracts. Like, I'm totally losing my... But, those things cost time. They cost you money to do it, but it costs you more money for you not doing something that you are good at. And time because you're searching and searching and searching. So getting these things in place gets you out of the urgent. It saves your sanity. You get to have a life. You have the freedom, the time, spend time with your family, spend time on self-care, whatever that is. Those are things. So finally, we get to resources. So resources as human, what can you now bring internally? Are you to a point where you can hire an admin for you or an assistant or whatever you think you need to have? Because you've now created those process and procedures to then bring on somebody that you can guide them, but you don't have to handhold them. And that's, I started my business. I brought people on. I handheld my senior planner because I knew if we worked together closely, she can then take all of my information out of my head and put it on a video and give it to the rest of the team. So it's really becoming a point of I can then focus on what I want to focus on and not have to worry about trying to train 3 other planners. And my senior planner only had to do it once and then she's done. She can then train on an individual basis then overall all 3 of them at a time. So creating those workflows, and again, the workflows are your financials, your operations, your customer service, your HR, your marketing, your website, which is a part of marketing, but it's also a part of, maybe it's part of systems. I really see it as a part of systems because your marketing is the beauty of your website, the words on your website, the pictures on your website, But the website itself, where's that being hosted? Who has the domain? Are they different? Like, I'm getting a bunch of emails right now saying, hey, this domain is expiring. This domain's expiring. And I'm like, I get those and I go, do I really need those anymore? Are they can I let them go? Or do I keep them? But it gives me a heads up that I have those, and I'm like, okay, I may not have a website with them. Do I want to spend the money on that? And then your mission, vision, and value. So those should all be part of your SOPs. Your mission, vision, and values should be the first thing in there. It should be your company, your kind of like a header, your company, page, your logo, all of that, SOPs, standard operating procedures, process procedures, whatever you want to call them, the date. When did you, I would say last updated on X, whatever date that is. And then the next page should be the mission of my company is this. The vision of what I want my life to be with my business is this. These are my core values. These are the things I do not negotiate on with my clients. If they can't abide, if I don't feel like they have these same core values, then they're out. Then again, and then I go straight into, hey, here's my branding sheet. You might even want to have your marketing up in front. Like, here's all my social media. Here's all the social media I'm on. Here's what I do for those. And then here's, if you want to put passwords and usernames on there, you can. The next page could be your content calendar for the year. Here's what I want to talk about each month. Then from there, you could go straight into any type of brochures, any type of marketing materials that you hand out. Where do you get your pens? Where do you get your paper? Where do you get your business cards? Like, all those things need to be in there. Because you may ask your VA or your assistant going, hey, go find me my pens. They're like, I don't know where you got your pens. You have to research, and then you have to go and look. Well, just have it in there. Then you're like, oh yeah, I reached out to so-and-so and she ordered these pens for me. And then you can say, yeah, I kind of want to change them. You send her an email saying, hey, I love the pens, but can we do this? Same with your business cards. Who's your graphic designer? Could be in there. Should be in there. Who's the person that created your logo? Who's the person that created your branding sheet? Because that needs to be in there, because like mine, she had all my business logo stuff, and I'm like, or my business card stuff. I'm like, hey, can you send that over to me? I've got a few changes. And I sent her, she sent it back, and I said, great. Where did we order? And then I asked her, I'm like, where did we order these again? Because I'm thinking we ordered them here. She's like, oh no, we ordered them on Moo. I'm like, oh. So again, write it down. I ordered these in Moo. So when you update your business, you update your SOPs, you can update those things. So from marketing, I would then go into your operations. How do you onboard? What are those canned emails? Have a whole section of canned emails. I just have them in a Word document, and they're all in there. And then they're in Honeybook for me. When I created that workflow, those are in there. Or you have them on your email in a folder that says canned emails. So there's lots of ways that you can do this without having a CRM. You can do it old school, and I can help you with doing it old school. So the point of this conversation is getting your processes and procedures in place, and getting some automation, and getting your team in place will help tremendously with creating more freedom and more abundance, whether it's money or time in your business. So with that, I'm going to go check on the comments. I'm going to throw this worksheet, this little document out there for you guys. And remember, I always have, you guys have many discounts with me. So if anybody wants a clarity call, it's 45 minutes, 50 minutes of talking with me about your business. It's recorded. You record it. I document it. I send you action items and things to work on. We also have your 8 CEOs. If you want to do your 8 CEOs and sit down and spend a total of 9 hours with me, no, not 3 hours, not 9 hours, 8 hours, 6 hours. I can't count. I just getting back from vacation. We have 3 calls, about 2 hours each, digging into your business, digging into your 8 CEOs. And again, you get documentation for that, and you can then run with it and see how you need and where you need to work on your business. So I am here for you. If you have any questions, anything, just pop a comment in there, and I will see you next week to talk about, because it's summertime, talking about setting your boundaries and your expectations for summer with your kids, with your family, and with your business. So with that, everybody have a good short week. I can't believe it's already Thursday. I came back Tuesday afternoon with Marge, and I had a lovely time out on, we went up to Port Angeles and swim. And so I'm getting caught up for a really short, frantic week. So everybody have a good time. Talk to you soon.